Hello, I'm Moyra and I'm a recipe writer for Heart Matters, and we're getting ready for Christmas. I'm going to show you how to make lighter mince pies today, which are lower in sugar and fat than traditional mince pies, but they do have all the flavour of Christmas, I promise you. So I'm going to use some fresh fruit, a nice tart eating apple, not a Bramley, which would be too soft in cooking. And then secondly, just one ripe pear. Make sure that they are quite soft. So I'm going to put my fruit into a small saucepan, and into that I'm going to add 50 grams of mixed dried fruit. That goes into the pot there. And 50 grams of dried blueberries, and I've found that the dried blueberries give a lovely depth of flavour. And then into that I've got 1/4 teaspoonful of ground cinnamon and 2 teaspoonfuls of mixed spice, and it's a mixed spice, it really does give the lovely scent of Christmas to the mixture. I'm going to add in a little bit of grated fresh fruit ginger, because I think it gives a nice zing to the mix, and then also the grated zest of half a large orange, and then the juice of half the orange. I'm going to put this over a medium heat, and I'm going to cook it until the fruit starts to soften at the edges and there's very little liquid left at the bottom of the pan, and this takes a good 5 to 7 minutes. Keep stirring it so that it doesn't catch on the bottom. So now I'm going to make the pastry cases, and I'm using phyllo pastry, which is much lighter in fat. Phyllo pastry has about 3% fat compared to traditional rich short crust pastry, which is 30% fat, so it really is quite a saving. I've got 3 sheets here. I'm just going to cut my sheets into roughly 5 centimetre, 2-inch squares. So I've got roughly 24 squares. Now I've got a deep patty tin here, but again you could use any tin that you've got at home. I'm going to wipe out the base with just a little bit of vegetable oil, because there is so very little fat in the pastry and we don't want them to stick on the bottom. And then just take some sheets and line the tin like that, keeping the pastry sticking up round about the top, and that's what gives us the nice crispy edges. So just keep going. Now you can make these and serve them fresh, or they're actually good to make ahead and keep in the freezer, and you can reheat them from frozen, and they just take 5 minutes in a hot oven. And then I've got my fruit mixture here, which is nice and cold. It really does smell wonderful with the ginger and the spices and the fresh fruit and the dried fruit. Really lovely. That's it. And then finally, I'm going to top with my remaining pastry. Scrunch the tops down well to stop the filling from spilling out when they're baking. And the more layers, the crispier the pies. I've got an egg yolk that has just been beaten with a splash of cold water, and I'm going to brush that all over the pastry. And it's the egg cooking on the pastry that makes the phyllo lovely and crisp. And then these go into a hot oven for 10 minutes. So they're firm enough now that I can slide a palette knife underneath and just flip them over. You want to get the underside nice and crisp too, and brush the underside with a little bit of the egg wash. And now they go back into the oven for another 5 minutes just to crisp the base. And you can see how wonderfully crispy the bases are. Now I'm just going to dust ours with a little bit of icing sugar. You'll see a little goes a very long way just to give them a more festive look. I just want to show you how lovely the fruit filling goes. All the apple and the pear cooks down. It just looks like traditional mincemeat with that gorgeous crispy pastry around the outside. Just delicious.